Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. Today we continue with our book, with the learning of the Mystery of Marriage by Rabbi Isaac Ginsburg on our Shalom Bayit class, our Peace in the Home class. Last week we were discussing how the Rasha, which is the lowest type of Jew, that is a person that thinks bad and falls into it and doesn't control his emotions and his intellect, and so he sins, is connected to the part of the relationship which is called clinging, which is the first step in a relationship, and how the Rasha has the capacity to return to God, to realize that he's not leading a holy life, he's not leading the life he's supposed to lead, he's not living up to who he is, and he repents and he returns to God, and all his sins become merits. And we were saying how this type of Jew is compared to the relationship between a husband and a wife, because every relationship is compared to God and us also, and this happens when one of the two spouses realizes that the strife that has been caused in their marriage is because they have a fault in it. It's not because the other person is not good or whatever. Also, the person looks inside of himself and see, what am I doing in this relationship that is not helping it move forward and helping it grow and be able to connect more to my spouse. And today we're gonna talk about how domestic strife should serve and should be viewed in this intention. When a couple is not getting along, they shouldn't be pointing fingers at the other person. They shouldn't be saying, oh, because he's like this and that, he never looks at me, or he's saying, oh, but I come home and the house is a wreck and it's not clean and the kids are like wild animals all over. And it's very easy to be pointing fingers at other people. It's easier to always blame others than to look at ourselves and see what is it in us that is also not helping the situation. So when one of the two looks at the situation from a different standpoint, when you're able to see, okay, why is my wife behaving that way? Why is she acting in such a non-loving way? And why she has to be all day in the gym, or why does she have to be dressing like that, or whatever strange thing the other one is doing, and the spouse looks and starts asking himself or herself, why is this person behaving in such a way? And he starts looking at his own behavior towards the spouse and say, okay, you know what, I come home, I'm not sweet with her, I don't listen to her, she wants to talk and I never have time for her, I'm always tired or I'm always busy, maybe she needs a little bit of my time, maybe she needs a little bit of my ear, or the other way around. Then the relationship can start working out. And obviously, Rabbi Isaac Ginsburg says here that divorce is something that should be the last resource in a relationship. It's something that has to be the last resource. Like, we really have to work on being kinder and more caring and more loving towards our spouse before we come to the conclusion that this marriage cannot go on. And the Torah says that we have divorce actually is a way out. So God made divorce. It's part of one of the mitzvahs. So it's not something that goes against Torah. It's something that is a way out for a couple that are not being able to live together. And sometimes the solution is to not live together anymore. But this should be taken into account that everything else has been tried before getting to this conclusion. And also he says here that when a husband realizes that his wife is not satisfied, that she's not happy in the marriage, this helps his ego go down. And this is part of the process of rectifying one's and refining one's character traits. This is what marriage is about, really. It's about refining each other. Each one of us is trying to bring out the best in the other. And that's why it's so painful, because the other person is exactly the mirror of what you have to fix. And when you look at it in this way, then you start to look at yourself and fix yourself instead of blaming the other one for whatever is going on in the marriage. And it's very important that we try very hard to come to this conclusion. I have a friend, she sadly had a divorce, a very sad divorce, and you would say she was not to blame, because really whatever happened there, you could see it was the faults were in the husband. And many years later, I'm telling you, 20 years later, one day she said to me, you know what, I had a lot of fault for what happened. I could have been different with him. If I would have been different with him, maybe he wouldn't have needed to do the things he did. Because now that I see it in retrospect, I could have been different. So who knows if it's yes or it's no, but the truth is that a lot of the way we behave with each other put the tone in the home and in the feelings between a husband and a wife. And so it says here that the divorce, actually, Hasidut explains it as the redemption from Egypt. It's like when the Jewish people went out of Egypt, and the Pharaoh, and they left Egypt and Pharaoh, and divorce thus becomes a form of liberation, redeeming her from an enslaving environment. So when a person is unhappy in their marriage, there's an unhealthy attachment in that relationship, and both of them are really killing each other, then divorce is something that relieves the two people. It takes them out of this galut, of this exile. And it says that when there's a divorce, even the walls of the temple cry. Like, it's something that is very, very painful. And it's not the ideal situation, but sometimes it's the necessary situation in many cases. But what we have to have in mind before we come to such a conclusion is that marriage really is our ticket to redeeming ourselves. It's the relationship in your life where you're going to be able to really do tikkun olam. There's a lot of correction in it. And when we come into this world, we come to do tikkun olam. We come to correct part of our piece of the world. And when we give up on a marriage and we just walk out of it, that part of the tikkun olam, of that fixing, is not fixed. And that part of your personality that had to be refined was not refined. So whatever it was, it's going to follow you. It's going to follow you in different ways. Maybe in a business deal, maybe with one of your children, maybe in another type of relationship. But whatever had to be fixed and it's not fixed, and I don't mean by divorcing you didn't fix it, because sometimes it is fixed. That part of you that was not fixed is going to be coming up again and again and again. So really, if you look at it in that way, the part of the divorce is not going to be like the solution to the problem, because that problem is going to follow you. The rabbis really suggest that divorce should only be considered in the case that there is a lot of abuse. It can be psychological or physical abuse. But if there's no abuse and there's no danger for the wife or the husband or the children, people should really stick to their marriage and really work each other the most they can to really fix it. Both of them have to want to fix it, because if one of them wants to fix and the other one doesn't want to fix, then we have another problem there, and you're not obliged to stay with a person that is not gonna do anything to correct whatever has to be corrected. But if the two people really want to work on their marriage and really want to work on saving it, and they understand this concept that this is the opportunity for them to refine each other and fix themselves in that part of the world that needs to be fixed, then it's worth the try. So I'm going to leave you here today. I want to wish you a good week, a blessed week, a peaceful week, and live a little higher. Thank you.